viewers, welcome once again to another edition of our talk show program, Let's Talk. Yes, this is a presentation of the Shillong Times group wherein we take important debates and discussions on issues that concerns the state. Today, the topic that we have taken up is, should our railway project be abandoned because of reasons of influx? Well, in the last episode, we took up the plight of the teachers and we asked this question, should they be to the streets to beg each time for their salary? Today, we thought in this episode, why not take up this issue, which is even more crucial when it concerns the development and the growth of the state. To tell us more on different aspects of this issue that we have taken up, we are being joined by a very, very good panel here. Let me go ahead and introduce them to you. To my extreme left, we are being joined by Sadon K Blah. He is the president of Hynniewtrep National Youth Federation, or the HNYF. Beside him is Dr. Batskhem Myrboh. He is the spokesperson of the VPP and also the Associate Professor, Department of Political Science of NEHU. We also have with us Mr. Mayralborn Syiem. He is an MLA from the Nongpoh constituency. And beside me is from the MTDF, or Meghalaya Tourism Development Forum, none other than Larsing Sawyan. So here we have this panel. So I hope you will be there on the other end watching this program for this interesting discussion debate that we are having. So a warm welcome to all of you to this discussion today. Thank you very much for your participation. Let me come firstly to Mr. Mayralborn Syiem. Well, as we all understand that this issue of railways has been pending for a very long time. The railway line that we have that connects Mendipathar to Dudhnoi, it was, of course, a small stretch, not way back in 2014. And ever since then, the talk, the necessity, the need, the opposition of having a railway line that connects the Khasi Jaintia Hills has been going on. There has been a very stiff opposition, especially by the pressure groups. How important, according to you, is the need of railways in the state of Meghalaya?
Good evening, Moshumi, and at the same time to the fellow panelists who are present here. See the importance of railway if we look from different perspectives, economically, to live up the economic background of the people at large, and convenience of the people. It is necessary, but we have to keep in mind, being a small state with different ethnic group that we have within the structure of a state, and we have been provided with a beautiful constitution mandated through it that we have the schedule, and also we have different community, their culture, identity that we have to respect and to protect the interests of the indigenous people. There is always a fear due to influx, due to illegal immigration of the people. Their sense of insecurity is always there. The demand for the railway line within the state, it is not new. It has been there since a long time. We have seen merit and demerit. We understand in any legislation, be it in parliament or in the state legislature, there will be always a merit or demerit of any legislation. Even in this part of our society also, of having a railway or not railway line, I am of the opinion is that we have to take first the interest of the people at large. There are two types of trains, railway line. There are passenger train and goods train.
Right.
So it is important if we talk about economic activities, uplift the economic background of people at large, about price rise, about the commodity, essential commodities, transport within the state. It is important that we should have a goods carrying train. But keeping in mind, as I have said in my opening remark, about the sensitivity of our culture, of our identity, it is important that we have this mechanism in place to protect For example, ILP is there, has been for so long demanding an airline permit. At the same time, we have seen since 2013 to the pressure group also, they have come forward for the implementation of Meghalaya Resident and Safety and Security Act. It has been passed, and we have seen nowadays this act is in place within Shillong agglomeration, but not in the whole state.
Right.
I think we should ensure that the mechanism will be in place to protect the interests, and then we can go ahead to have a
Okay.
line for better economic
Right. We will definitely come back to the mechanisms and what needs to be done in a little while. But let me bring in Mr. Ming here. You are from the MTDF, and tourism is a very, very big industry here. It is one of the most important industry that has a lot of potential. And but when we are talking about the economic growth, development of the state, I think tourism is one avenue through which the growth can happen. But as we have seen that Meghalaya is in a very critical juncture now, where we are more than 50 years old now. Isn't it time really to grow further, bring in the railways? Why is the fear so much at large?
Yes, so good evening, and good evening to everyone here. From the perspective of economic development,
Right.
and as you mentioned, tourism, our view is that it would be good if Meghalaya had a high-speed luxury railway system that connected the Guwahati International Airport
Right.
with Shillong.
Mm-hmm.
The reason being that we live in a 21st century globalized world.
Mm-hmm.
One end of the world spectrum, people are building rockets to go to the moon, and infrastructure is but now a fundamental necessity for mankind and civilization. And it's only through development that social schemes and measures can be brought in for population and for people.
Right.
So in that regard, also, if you look at India as a country, every state in India, every state capital in India
Right.
has a railway
Railway.
connectivity.
Mhm.
In the Northeast, there are 2 or 3 states which don't have railway connectivity, but as per what we have read and understood, Mizoram is expected, Aizawl is expected to have a railway station by the end of 2025. And similarly, works are going on in the railway line from Jiribam to Imphal, which will also connect Manipur and Imphal and Aizawl within the next 12 to 24 months. We also have a railway network that has already reached Dimapur many, many years back.
So mean to say that most all the northeastern states, barring Meghalaya, is going to be
Yeah, so if I
connected
can
with
just
railway.
complete here.
Yeah.
There is also a railway connectivity project, construction is going on to connect the railways all the way up to Kohima in a place called Jubja, which is about 10-15 kilometers away from Kohima. And as per reports, though it's very difficult terrain, that is also expected to be completed in the next 2 years. Sikkim, there is a master plan despite the Himalayan terrain for a railway connectivity all the way to Gangtok. So why should Meghalaya have the distinction of being the only state, or Shillong be the only state capital in the entire country, India, which is today the 5th largest country in the world in terms of GDP, and by 2030, we expect we expect it to overtake Japan to go to number 3 in the world. Why should we be left out?
Yeah.
Why should we? And what our belief is that, the commodities can stop at Byrnihat, no issues, but a high-speed railway line which can connect Guwahati International Airport to Shillong would mean that in 1 hour, we would be accessible to an international airport which could take us to any part of the world.
Okay.
We are expected there's 2,000 crores being invested in the international airport today. And in the next few years, we're expecting Guwahati to have direct flights to all the major international cities of Asia. And if you look at the world economy today, it has shifted from the west to the east. In fact, as we speak, it is China, India, and the ASEAN, which is a conglomeration of 10 Southeast Asian countries, which is going to determine world economics for the next 25 to 30 years, maybe 50 years. In this realignment of the economic spectrum, Guwahati, which is north of Shillong, if you look at it as a clock dial, will be 3.5 hours away from all the top metros of Asia, which in a way means 75% of the biggest cities of the world. So this is the kind of scenario in which Meghalaya presents itself in. And as we know, in terms of tourism, there is no other state in the Northeast that can benefit from tourism as much as Meghalaya, and in particular, the Khasi Hills.
Okay.
So therefore, my thing is that keeping all this into perspective, and the fact that as a state, our objective should be towards building a revenue to become a revenue surplus state. Because until we are not a revenue surplus state, any government that is formed in Meghalaya will have to, in a way, pander to the central government. But the moment you become a revenue surplus state, you can dictate terms according to your personal, or let's say,
you have more
your government's
choices
vision.
then. Right.
That's what happens to states like Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra
Bigger
and
states.
others.
Right. I totally understand.
And with a state population of 30 lakhs, and with the kind of resources that we have, the beauty of nature that we have, it is not an impossible task. So why should we deprive ourselves of such a scenario?
Why should we be left behind? Let me just bring in Mr. Sadon K Blah now, because you are one of the pressure groups, you meaning the HNYF, along with others, like the other pressure groups, including the KSU and others, have continuously been opposing. Tell us, why are you opposing the railways? We understand it is the influx issue. What is your biggest fear when the question of influx is taken into consideration?
You see, basically, our problem in opposing railway projects into Byrnihat, from Tetelia to Byrnihat, there is an actual apprehension of the influx that might accrue from the railway station that might come in Byrnihat. So we are opposing railway station coming till Byrnihat, not only till Byrnihat, because government has intended to bypass Byrnihat and to go direct to Jaita Hills also.
Right.
So that part of the plan of the government also, we stand opposed to that. Why we are opposing that? Because our state is not having, we are demanding mechanism for the government to regulate the migrations and influx to the state. But on the other hand, the government is putting more pressure on, getting the railway connectivity to Assam to Meghalaya. The way as an NGO leader, I feel that the need for railway was felt for quite a long time in Meghalaya.
Right, since 80s.
But the aggressiveness of pursuing this railway agenda in Meghalaya started basically after 2014, which means after the NGT ban on coal mining. The whole intention here is that after this so-called high level, they have gained control over the coal transportation, because prior to that it was the individual businessmen who are carrying on the train coal. But after this so-called high level, they have attained control on that transportation of coal. They see that the best way to benefit from coal transportation is through the railway. So we see that conflict of interest out there. On the one hand, they say that railway, a goods train will serve the purpose of the state in the terms of cheaper commodities. But I can cite figures here that railway connectivity does not necessarily lead to the easing of the price of essential commodities. I have figures which I can relate later on if required. But as we see, as NGO, we see that government has not taken interest in protecting in implementing mechanism. Even the central government is not interested. Even the state government is not interested. Like recently, the government has said that it has implemented the district task force part of the MRSSE. That I feel is not sufficient, because one of the basic structure of the MRSSE is that there should be entry-exit point, which in that in the many meetings that we had with government, we also did propose that even in railway station there should be entry and exit point.
Okay.
If the government is not interested in erecting the entry-exit point at the entry and exit point of the railway station, then we can take no chance.
Okay. We will come back to you. You've just made your points. And now let me come to Batskhem. Batskhem, as a party spokesperson, what is the BPP stand on the railways? Are you in a line with the pressure groups or with the government? Well, how do you look into things? Because, what Ming has just said, there's a lot of stakes here. We have to think a little beyond than what we are thinking today. If mechanisms are put in place, what is the problem of not having the railways?
Yes, when you talk about the railways simply, it is not a problem. But when you link it with Influx, that is a very complex.
If there are mechanisms in place. Absolutely.
Because you see, when you talk about, as I said, simply railways, this is not a problem, because railways, we understand that it is a mode of communication. It is one of the cheaper modes of communication, which is very important for the economic development. But here there are two things that I want to mention. One, in Meghalaya, so far we have had the extractive economy, where there is mining, and then we have this cement factories, and on the other hand we have the tourism. So whether this introduction of railway will boost which sector of the economy? If it boosts the extractive economy, then it may not be so beneficial to the state. If it boosts tourism, yes, it can be. And again, here, why I say it's a very complex situation? Why? Because it is linked with influx, linked with migration. Migration is a process which is so complicated that that does not that cannot be understood so easily. When you talk about migration, for example, when you fear that the outsiders may come to Meghalaya. Here, when you talk about migration, there is a very close link between development and migration. The more the region develops, the more migration it will happen. The less you develop, the less migration will happen.
So which one do you want to choose?
So you see, this is always a trend all over the world. So here, when we talk about the introduction of the of the railways and will develop the economy, ultimately also we have to ensure we have to be very frank that migration also will happen. But the question that as far as I understand, the question that the pressure groups they have is whether that migration will be temporary or they will be converted into permanent, I think. So they are afraid of the permanent migration. But temporary migration, for economic development, it is always the necessity. You cannot, bypass, you cannot stop migration. But here, I'm coming to the position of the party. As a party, we take a position both during the MLA and as well as even during the MP election that we welcome the introduction of the goods train. But as far as of the passenger trains, we have to examine it, because migration also we have to be mindful of that. But a very interesting here, you'll find in the case of Arunachal Pradesh, they have I don't know whether there is a link also between railway and migration. Because here, if you see the history of migration to Meghalaya, migration was happening happening in a big way, even when, in the 1951 to 1971, when the mode of transportation was not that upgraded as it is today. But we had the highest migration during that period. And therefore, whether there's a link between migration and railways also, that has to be examined.
So what I understand is that your party view and your stand is that you welcome the goods train but not the passenger train, because you feel that through the passenger train you will have more kind of... We
have to examine it. We have to study it. But as far as it is today, we welcome the goods train.
Okay. Now, both you gentlemen, Sir Mayralborn and Ming, you've just heard their stance. Do you want a quick rebuttal?
Yeah, so I want to discuss a little bit on the migration part. So,
means what I understand, isn't influx happening now without the railways?
So I'll just, if you allow me. So Batskhem mentioned that there was a lot of migration, 51 to 71, he said. So then thereafter there was the sixth schedule. With this,
and in fact, the schedule was there from 1951.
Okay,
1952.
So 1952, but with the sixth schedule and the Land Transfer Act,
71.
71.
Correct.
So land transfer came in 71. See, now, you see, what is the most important thing to protect? Besides culture, the most important thing to protect is your political sovereignty or your political control as a
state.
Yeah. There we already have protection in the sense that 55 of the 60 seats are reserve seats. That means migration or no migration, only an indigenous of the state
will be elected to
the assembly. So luckily we have that safeguard in place. The second safeguard that we have in place is the Land Transfer Act, in the sense that that does not allow outsiders from buying land. So we already have two huge legislations which are already in place. Now political is very clear because it's transparent on your face. Land transfer is something where perhaps one can always keep a strong eye and, transparency can always be maintained, but it is a mechanism that in a way is the biggest deterrent to long-term migration. So the fact that we have these 2 points, the only third point that we need to have to work out on is, which is very easy in today's day and age, is that today, that even whatever data that we have is being collected in mobile towers. Forget about Google doing analytics and knowing exactly what our requirements are. So in the day of information technology, what we require is a Meghalaya Citizens Register. As long as we have a Meghalaya Citizens Register, we can actually map and know who is a resident of Meghalaya, who is an indigenous citizen of Meghalaya, and through that pattern, you can check it on a weekly basis, monthly basis, and a yearly basis. But by creating roadblocks to development, we are actually in a long way
taking ourselves behind, you feel?
Taking ourselves behind and depriving the future of a lot of benefits that can happen to our society. That is one thing. There's always a plus and minus. There's no doubt about it. Now, the other aspect which I wanted to add about the railways is that, you see, in the modern economy, urban areas are the growth centers of economics. In the modern context, growth centers of economy are now centering around urban agglomerations, whether it's a Bangalore, Chennai, anywhere you go, that's the general trend. That's why mega cities have been created. Shillong will never be a mega city. Shillong will never be a mega city because we have the Land Transfer Act, we have so many restrictions, which is fine. Which is fine because it'll help high-value tourism. So let's be clear, we can grow through high-value tourism. We can maintain, as long as our rivers are clean, our streams are clean, our footpaths are clear, the level of living, it goes to a higher level. That is also beautiful. We don't all have to be, huge mega cities. But Guwahati, on the other hand, is the last transnational capital of India and closest to the ASEAN. So it is going to grow. If we have this connectivity, what happens is that tomorrow, if it's an IT company, any development, like in Germany, like in Greece, so this allows someone living in Shillong to be employed in Guwahati, because that industry cannot come to Shillong for various factors. The second part is when we have critical emergencies in health, we've all faced it in some stage or the other. Let's say a brain, accident or this and that, where you require, high levels of medical intervention. If you can access these medical institutions which are already in existence and which are coming up within an hour's time, it's a benefit to our society. So that is why I say that perhaps, weighing all factors, I'm sure there is a way in which we can overcome the issues that have been presented, and they are real. We're not discarding that fact. But I don't think that it is something that cannot be handled. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely.
One thing here, let me jump in on this about when we talk about goods trade. See, one very good example. Just recently, I met few women from Mendipata who travel every day from Mendipata to Guwahati. It is 4.5 hour journey where they sell fresh vegetables, fully organic. Guwahati is full demand of organic vegetable. So, and the train fare is only 30 rupees from Mendi to Guwahati. See, this woman farmer or business woman, they carry their vegetables, sell them in the morning. After selling, they come back. So, it opens up economic activities
Right,
easy.
absolutely.
They can go at one
The
day
cost
and they
also
are,
goes down.
yeah, like that. So it helps those family, those business women who can earn their livelihood out of that. But keeping in mind that mechanism should be in place. And number two, when I'm being talk about high-speed bullet train and all, it is very optimistic.
I'm not even talking about a bullet train,
Mhm.
because a bullet train will get us in 30 minutes. I'm talking about a normal, Vande Bharat train, 100 kilometers an
Yeah.
hour.
No. Why
will
can't
get us
we
in
even talk
45
about toy
minutes.
trains actually?
But
Like,
having
other
said this,
stations.
It is a good idea.
Having said this, it's not
Yeah.
like the government of India
bullet train
is
is a
just
little
going to give us that
far-fetched,
kind
I
of
think.
Yeah.
requirements also.
No, but why can't we even
Yeah.
talk of toy trains like other hill stations like Darjeeling, Mussoorie, etc. Right?
It's a good
Ooty
idea.
also.
Where in future that we should have to
Mhm.
boost tourism
Mm.
and other activities also. But as I have said, that keeping in mind that like now we have seen the implementation of Meghalaya Resident Safety Security Act to have a check and balance where different labor inspector has been in place in different CNRB block, and to keep and check every 3 months that they have to communicate with every police station, the headman, to collect who is the tenant, who has come to stay, to have a proper record. It is difficult. It's not easy. It is a challenge even to the community also.
Yeah.
But to start with, it seems that the government have started now. But let us be optimistic on this, that it will happen and we can address slowly, and then we can go ahead with all this.
Yeah. What Mr. Blah is saying, that he's worried that it is, that it will not so much be on the tourism, but the extractive industry that will be, maybe overutilized. That's the fear. And influx is real. I mean, let us not wayside it saying that influx is not happening. But my question to you, Mr. Blah, is that influx is in any case happening. Organizations like yours and others keep on, deporting. So from where are those coming? So why are you
Yes.
blaming the railways only?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, without railway also, since the 1969, 1970, 1980s, 1990s, there has been an anti-migrant movement in Meghalaya. Those were the years where railway was not so progressively demanded from the side of the establishment as of now. But it had happened without railways.
So you feel with the coming of
With the
passenger
coming-
train, there will be
It
huge
will,
influx.
it will only abate the situation.
Okay.
It will further,
So that is your only issue. But why are you not talking about the mechanisms in place?
we
Why are you not, thinking long-term interest of the state?
say
Today is 2024.
since
50
the
years from now,
1980s,
things will change.
Since the 1980s,
Right.
NGOs like AKSU have started demanding the ILP. Since the 1980s, it has not materialized. 2013 again, we have started demanding ILP. Again, has not materialized. Then we in 2016 government come up with the MRSSA, and MRSSA also, it was after 10 years the government seemed to do at least a little bit of it, if not the totality of the act. It is starting to do a little bit of it. That's why we are apprehensive that if a railway is allowed at this juncture, as our respected MLA has correctly mentioned, that we need mechanism first, then we will have our thoughts on the railway.
Batskhem, just come in on this, like mechanisms in place, but then when we talk about the future of the state also, the citizens also, the youth also, because, railway will provide eventually so much of job opportunities, other ancillary industries to grow, etc. So why are we stopping our progress because of one issue only, and that is influx?
You see, this is a very complicated matter. We have also this question. When Mendi Pathar is already linked with railway, and it is part of the state,
right,
and there has been no opposition to Mendi Pathar, then if, here, this is a very critical question. When Mendi Pathar is already linked, and there's no opposition, and it is part of the state, then people will go there, then come back to, they can come to Shillong.
Exactly.
Okay, that is one question. But when we talk about this, the safety mechanisms that we have in our state, to me, I would say that RMSSA is not really to check influx. It is simply to identify who migrate to Meghalaya, because there's an interstate migration is not even the subject of the state. It is of the union government. So here, what we need, if we really need to check, that is the only way out is to have the ILP. But as
that old
it has
archaic
been,
law, actually. It's
I
very,
don't
very
know archaic law or not, but it has been applied.
going
And
back, further behind.
but I will not say going back further behind, because why? Because that law will regulate. So even if you need the labor from outside, still according to the ILP, they can still come, but according to the, in accordance with the permit. So I would not say archaic law also.
Okay.
So here, when you talk about this railway, as I said, it is a very important for economic development. But again here, there's a catch-22 situation. If we don't develop, our people will have to migrate to other parts of the country.
That is what it's time for us to choose.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm saying, if you check the census of 2011, migration for job from Meghalaya is one of the highest from North. So there also we have, the reverse situation where if we don't want the influx from outside the state, we end up sending the migrants from the state to other parts of the state. And therefore this particular question, it needs a very comprehensive, highly intellectual kind of exercise with facts. And, we have to really do a huge exercise on this.
Blah, you said that, till Jayantia Hills, they are willing. And yes, there are legislators like even Mr. Vincent Pala, then Mr. Komingon Yambon, also actually in line towing the idea of they are encouraging railways to come. So are our legislators also actually divided on this issue? Yes, what were you saying?
See, when you say about we opposing the railway now without thinking about the future. The future is our existence first, development later. And when talking of this, that railway will directly, lead to development, I think I have some argument against that. Because if we look, if we try to compare here,
I remember when there was the national highway was,
let me bring some.
There was so much of agitation then because of fear again. But now we are having a beautiful highway, Shillong
let me bring
highway.
some figures.
Right.
Like a very well established railway state in Northeast and ourselves that we don't have the railway. You see, Assam, the cost of living is $369 per head.
$369
per head.
These are
per
figures
month.
you have collected from?
I collected from many journals, which is 1.7 less expensive than average India state. And it ranked 14 most expensive state. Assam.
Okay, all right. So we
okay, that is 32,000 you need to survive in Assam. We look at Meghalaya is 390 without railway, which is 1.01 times less expensive than our average Indian state. And the average salary for per head to survive, quite a survival in Meghalaya is 33,000, which is a very well rail connectivity, $229, and the rank 26 most expensive state.
Fine. Okay.
So I think we have to understand the fact that railway does not necessarily bring development and ease the livelihood.
Okay.
Why I'm saying this is because when we talk of good trains that will come to Meghalaya.
Why are you averse even to the goods train?
Yeah, I'm talking about that. When we talk of good train to come to Meghalaya for essential commodities, we have essential commodities like rice, sugar, everything. And on top of that, we have what we tribal here generally consume. We generally are meat consumer. Beef is one part of it that we have to talk. The price of beef now is very hefty. With the goods train, will the government be able to convince the Assam government to allow this transport to Meghalaya? I think it's doubtful.
Okay.
Now we have pork. Pork, they come all the way from Haryana, Punjab, Rajasthan. They reach till Rewai district. when we talk of vegetables are something which are inter exchange between Meghalaya and Assam. Depend on the season.
Most of our perishables, well, let me tell you, is coming from outside actually. Just one day there is no petrol, there is some kind of an, bug,
yeah, understood.
and we face the situation. Yeah. I mean these figures,
we cannot
maybe, yeah,
simply just because
but this
just
is not
because we
futuristic
depend on
what
the
you're
state.
saying about beef and pork.
Just because we depend on the state, we cannot give them a cutting edge
Okay.
to decide
All right. Yes.
what we should do.
So can I just say? So I would not agree with Babla as far as, of course, we can continue with that debate in a different way, but that no railways means more development. I would not agree with that. I would still stick to the fact that railways will bring in economic development.
No, what I'm saying,
that is my understanding. Do statistics and dollars. I don't know what survey, what is happening in which context. But what I can also tell you is that from a development perspective, you just first look at revenue collection. So Assam's revenue collection in GST for the month of August was somewhere around 6,900 crores. Meghalaya is at about 772 crores. Sikkim, which is a 6%, which is a 6 lakh population state, is 811. So let us first define development through revenue. Then we can do
Talk about price rise.
we can do the actual calculation of per capita income and so on and so forth. So these are imperative facts of 2024 I'm talking about. So I would not agree with that, but I think the big issue here is development versus immigration. And immigration is a fact. I mean, this is an issue that is part of human civilization for thousands of years. It's a complex phenomena, as has been mentioned. And the issue here is how do we embrace development by also mitigating issues of immigration, which are very much a serious issue. Probably immigration is equally serious as the requirement for development. I would put it that way. But I don't think we should go for development with disregarding immigration. Neither should we look at only immigration and be like some corner of the Andaman Islands and forget about development. I think a balance here is what's required. And this is where I'm saying, from a personal perspective, because we employ a lot of people, let me tell you that population in terms of real, let's talk about immigrants, whether it's temporary or permanent, qualified people from outside the state, it's very difficult to bring to Meghalaya. And a lot of qualified people from within the state are also leaving the state. This is a fact. I find it difficult to bring in chartered accountants, top finance guys, high-level management people, because no one wants to come and live in Shillong. For example, I have a CFO. Luckily, he's a young boy, a chartered accountant. He works with me. He's my chief. His wife is from UP, so just passed out. Luckily, she went for an interview in Nigrams, and we were worried because I was hoping she'll get in, because if she gets in, then this guy will remain. Otherwise, even he would leave, and I wouldn't have any proper people in my organization. Luckily, when he went to Nigrams, she found out that the vacancies are huge. It was a cakewalk for her, as it is she was a topper. So even in Nigrams, you're not being able to fill in the doctor's requirements. So that is healthcare issues. So we are looking at, what level of healthcare issues are we giving our state? These are also serious issues. So what is happening is that qualified people we are not attracting. But yes, there is a lot of, whole of police bazaars filled up. Whole of police bazaars filled up with hawkers. Who is running that business behind the scenes? No, let us go straight to the point. Who is running the scene behind the scenes? So you see, even the migrants, we are in a way attracting, let's say, not the qualified people, but people of a certain economic sphere that are actually coming in. But even there, I'm saying in today's day of data technology, where the world is a glass case, where everything can be actually, everyone can be identified. You've seen Israel, what they've done in Iran. We as a community cannot handle, if you have a citizens register and you have a proper data analytics department, you will know on a weekly basis whether immigration is happening or not. And then you work on the work permit. I'm saying, what I'm putting is, you do not stress on too much of work permits for doctors, engineers, and high qualified people that are required in the state. You can stress for work permits in areas where our people have a chance. So if we work on things in a scientific way, and see, at the end of the day, you cannot buy land, you cannot become an MLA, you cannot have political control, and your work is regulated and you are data mapped. I think, the whole incentive of coming to Meghalaya is highly, much more negligible than anything else.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that I agree with your point. My point is that I request, for the sake of Meghalaya, for the sake of the future of Meghalaya, where I'll tell you, there is no state like Meghalaya in the Northeast. There is no state. We are in the center of the Northeast. We have the most beautiful lands. I mean, that was the genius of our ancestors to have actually got the best lands of the entire Northeastern region. There's no doubt, and especially the Khasi Jainti areas. I mean, where we are largely, because the whole of Meghalaya is beautiful. Okay. Now, what I'm saying is that if we all put our heads down together, we all want development. We are all concerned about immigration. Why can't we solve it?
Mayralborn, where lies the solution? You are part, I know you are not a government spokesperson here. You have come from your own personal opinion you're sharing here. But then where lies the solution? We cannot be in a state of limbo for so many decades and we'll continue to be that.
Yeah.
There has to be a way out now.
This is a continuous process. And it is a fact that we cannot live in isolation if we want to grow as one of the state which we try to develop within Northeast or the whole country also. But keeping in mind, as I have said in my opening remark also, this mechanism which is in place, ILP is still with the central government. Now we have Meghalaya Resident Safety Security Act. Let's start with this humble beginning.
Okay.
At some point of time, government has to start, and it has started now. The sincerity we have seen, and it has started within Shillong agglomeration. There are many challenges, I have said, but this is a humble beginning. And in days to come, like Baming have said, to taken up more technocrat, people who know, technician with analytical equipments that we have to do to detect and to have the proper process on this. I don't think that it is impossible.
Exactly. Okay.
But loopholes, challenges is always there. Demerit is always there.
Yeah. So
Newton law has said
to
every action there is equal and opposite reaction.
Reaction, right.
So we have to go ahead with optimistic in mind
that
we have to achieve to grow tourism, economic development at the same time. Government also, that is my personal view as one of the legislator, we always stand by the people and to see, we have to balance. Interest of the indigenous people also has to be kept in mind. At the same time, we cannot live in isolation. We have to move ahead.
Yeah. So we need to build the trust between the government and the community also. So as we are almost wrapping up, Batskhem, how would you look into the importance of this, this trust building mechanism? Maybe there is some problem as of now that things have not been clearly laid down to the table, perhaps.
You see, when you talk about trust, there has always been a trust deficit between the state and the people. But here, I'm really, fascinated by what Ba has painted a picture. We have the train, we would have all those kind of, fancy things.
No, I think we all need to be optimistic.
But here, the point is, what is needed is, when we talk about development also, we need to understand development for whom.
Okay.
You see, here, when you talk about tourism, yes, Meghalaya has had tourism and we have boosted so much. But at the same time, you find that Meghalaya, I don't know for what reason, we have becoming, increasingly the poorer state. And, we are occupying the bottom position more and more as days pass by. So here, there's also a question of when we talk about development, what kind of development for whom, and whether that kind of development will really benefit the people. So here, people, they need to see that development, whatever the government talks about, it has to impact the people. Then the people will trust the government. But so far, as the people have witnessed, there is a disconnect between what the government claims and what is actually happening in reality. And therefore, the people need to be, given that kind of confidence.
Yeah, quickly, I just give you 30 seconds.
I will refer to what my friend Bobby said. You see, we need mechanism first in place.
Right, okay.
Which the government has missed the bus.
Okay.
Among we NGOs, we always used to talk that if the government set up the entry-exit point. Now, if the general feeling is that the MRSSC is not the scheme to check migration, I think they are looking only at the part of it. Look at in the totality of it. What are there in this entry-exit point? There are counters. Like Bahami has said, that professional and doctors, engineer, or whatever professional they might come. If they come, they just verify themselves in the entry-exit point. No more, no more impediments or no more difficulties for them. Had the government done that by the year, let's say 2016, 17, 18, I think we NGOs by now we would have reconsidered this whole idea of
okay. All right. So that's what I said. We need to come with that, building of trust from both the sides to sit together and lay bare what is there on the table and come up with solution. Because in the long run, as I said, the state needs
which
to
government
develop.
has not done till then.
That is we will look into it maybe in another episode, and because that is another issue that needs to be taken, what the government has done or not done. But when all stakeholders work together, then only development happens. Well, on that note, I thank all of you gentlemen for coming to the studios and discussing this very important topic today, that should railway project be abandoned because of the fear of influx. Well, that's how the discussion went today. Well, dear viewers, I hope you have been a party to it and you leave behind your comments and your feedbacks too. Until next time and the next episode of Let's Talk, it's goodbye.